Amazing moments revealed. Little boy says, "Don't marry him." Transformative truth exposed. The first chill of December nipped at Sarah's nose as she poured coffee into a mug, her fingers numb, fingers dancing on autopilot. The diner buzzed around her, the smell of bacon sizzling in the air, but all she could feel was the weight of the day settling into her bones. As she glanced at Ryan, seated comfortably in a booth, his smile radiated warmth and charm, a stark contrast to the ache of long hours spent on her feet. Yet, even as her heart flickered with hope, doubt gnawed at her insides like an unwelcome guest. What am I doing? The thought gripped her. The implications played like a movie reel in her mind. Jake's laughter, their cozy nights, the delivery of happiness she had finally dared to want after so long. But hidden behind that desire loomed a fear as primitive as any she had ever known. What if this was just another mirage? What if Ryan's polished exterior concealed ambitions that couldn't sustain a family like hers? "Mom!" Jake's voice disrupted her thoughts like a thunderclap. He stood, bright-eyed, tugging at her apron. "Not right now, sweetie." The words tasted bitter. The small town's expectations loomed like a dark cloud, whispering that this was her chance, yet the dread curdled in her stomach. Would Jake's innocent plea lead her to a path she wasn't prepared for? "Don't marry him," Jake declared, his young face suddenly serious, as if asserting a truth Sarah hadn't even realized was hidden in plain sight. The diner's raucous laughter blurred into silence. Her heart stuttered. The words, innocent yet heavy, rang in her ears, a summons to confront the very concerns she had desperately tried to suppress. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Chaos erupted inside her, thoughts colliding. Her instincts screamed to protect Jake, yet the allure of Ryan was intoxicating. He could offer stability, a reprieve from the struggles that threatened to drown her. But what of the connection she shared with her son, the unbreakable bond of a single mother fighting for her child's dreams? Jake saw something she yearned to ignore, the possibility that Ryan's ambition could eclipse the very essence of their lives. Sarah felt the walls closing in, every glance exchanged with Jake fueling her internal battle.
The vision of family she'd craved began to blur, the reality of Ryan's ambitions at risk of overshadowing her cherished moments with Jake. He was just trying to protect her, wasn't he? As she stood teetering on an emotional precipice, the creaking weight of her fears pressed heavy against her heart. Her breath caught at the thought. What if pursuing Ryan meant sacrificing what little she had fought to build? Each day she felt the resolve fray at the edges, longing for the fairy tale while tethered by the raw truth of motherhood. With the diner bustling around her and Ryan's glances growing more inviting, she was forced to dive deeper into this mystery, lead him to see her worth while protecting the one person she loved most. Desperation snarled her heart as she knew she had to confront Ryan, but with rising urgency, the need for clarity tinged her every thought. Could her dreams withstand the intensity of Jake's unease? Just as she began to unearth the courage for confrontation, something shifted. Whispers from years past stirred, echoing the truth she had started to forget. With raw fear gnawing in the pit of her stomach, she stepped forward, realizing the battle within was only beginning, one that demanded she choose between the allure of love and the safety of her son. As revelations loomed and questions flourished, a shocking discovery awaited, reshaping everything she thought about love, family, and the essence of true companionship. The air inside the diner felt heavy, charged with an unspoken tension. Sarah pushed a strand of hair behind her ear, her heart an erratic drum in her chest. With Jake's declaration swirling in her mind, the smile of Ryan, a man who represented potential stability, now felt like a mask hiding unknown depths. As she turned back toward the kitchen, Sarah's mind raced with the thought of what Jake had said. Each word echoed painfully, stirring a dread that crept like ivy around her heart. Was marrying Ryan truly a step toward happiness, or a leap into something darker? The question hung over her like a storm cloud. "Sarah, can I get some more coffee?" an older patron asked, jolting her from her spiral of anxiety. The diner felt like a world apart from her mounting doubts, with the rhythmic clinking of silverware and the sizzling of bacon grounding her for a moment. She nodded absent-mindedly, pouring a fresh cup without really seeing the customer. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of Ryan, leaning casually in his booth, engaged in conversation with a couple of regulars. He was easygoing, charismatic, yet something in her gut twisted. It had been years since she let anyone into her life the way he was trying to. "What are you doing, Sarah?" she whispered to herself under her breath, cleaning the counter almost aggressively. "You're not a girl who falls her charm. You're a mother. You need to protect your son." The realization hit her with a sudden clarity.
It wasn't merely about her anymore. Her choices would ripple through Jake's life, shaping his notions of safety, love, and commitment. A flicker of determination surged within her. She couldn't let infatuation blur her vision. She needed to confront Ryan, not just about her fears, but about his intentions. Did he see a future with them as a family? Or was he just drawn to the idea of having a partner who could share a life, but not fully engage in it? As her thoughts crystallized, Sarah recalled past relationships that had shaped her, each one a cautionary tale filled with promises that evaporated. She had fought too hard to carve a safe existence for Jake, to risk it all for a fleeting fantasy. Stepping into Ryan's orbit felt different this time. There was a weight to her purpose, a strength anchoring her as she approached his table with a determined stride. No longer was she seeking validation, rather she sought truth. The sound of laughter faded as she neared, and Ryan's eyes lit with a welcoming spark. "Hey there, everything okay?" he asked, a smile breaking through the afternoon's tension. "Ryan, we need to talk," she replied, her voice steady but laced with urgency. It was the moment she sensed a shift, a potential turning point. "Sure, what's on your mind?" He looked genuinely concerned, the kind of concern that answered her question but also prompted another. Sarah took a breath, the weight of her decision settling on her shoulders. "I need to know what you're really looking for. Is this just a fun distraction for you, or—" She hesitated, searching his gaze for sincerity. "Or do you see a future with my son and me?" The diner buzzed on, oblivious to the significant conversation unfolding. Everything surrounding them blurred into insignificance. Would he understand the gravity of her question, or would she uncover another layer of his charm that hid a different truth? As Ryan opened his mouth to respond, Sarah's heart raced with the realization that no matter what came next, the direction of her life and Jake's was teetering on the brink of discovery and potential heartbreak. Would his answer align with the safety she desperately craved, or push her further into the void of uncertainty? Ryan's gaze faltered slightly, and Sarah felt a tight knot form in her chest. The laughter and chatter of the diner faded into the background, replaced by the silence that hung heavily between them. She watched as he collected his thoughts, the weight of her question pressing down on both of them. I mean, it's complicated," he began, his voice losing its buoyancy. "I like you, Sarah, a lot. You and Jake. I didn't come into this to just have a good time. But—" His hesitance hung in the air like a fog, obscuring whatever clarity she sought. Her heart raced, emboldened, but also caught in the tension of their conversation. "But what?" she urged, a slight edge creeping into her tone. "But I'm not sure I'm ready for something serious." "I didn't expect to meet someone like you, and—" He trailed off, searching for his words. In that instant, Sarah felt a mixture of deflation and relief. "So you don't see us as a family," she stated, more as a reaffirmation of her thoughts than a question. "I didn't say that," he countered, his face clouded with earnestness. "I just need time to really think about it. You and Jake are important to me. I take relationships seriously. I don't want to rush into anything." The diner's vibrations ebbed and shifted, and a profound realization crashed over her. This was her moment of clarity, the uncomfortable unveiling she had been searching for. Being important to you isn't enough if we're also just an afterthought. Ryan's expression twisted with a hint of frustration, and Sarah understood the rules of this dance they were engaged in. She raised her chin, ready to fortify her stance. "I've been down this road enough times to know the signs, Ryan. If you're not ready for a commitment, then I can't be part of this. Jake deserves more than a maybe. He deserves certainty." A pause flickered in the air. His eyes narrowed as they searched hers. He absorbed her words, and it struck her how vulnerable she felt, yet liberated by her honesty. This confrontation was sculpting her into someone who no longer depended on someone else's answer for her well-being. "Sarah, I didn't know you felt this way," he said, finally looking beyond his reluctance. There was a glimmer of recognition, as if she had illuminated a pathway he hadn't dared to tread. "It's not just about feelings anymore, Ryan," she said, her voice steadying. "I need to know that my son is safe. In a relationship, it's not only me who could get hurt if things go sideways. I can't gamble with his heart." Ryan's shoulders dropped slightly as he absorbed her words. "I understand," he said, though uncertainty hung around him. "I need some time to figure this out." The air thickened again, holding both their unresolved emotions. "Time might be what you need," Sarah replied cautiously, "but I can't afford that luxury. Jake comes first. If we're not on the same page, I'll walk away now." The finality in her tone echoed through the bustling diner,
and for the first time, Sarah felt a weight lift as she acknowledged her own needs alongside her responsibilities as a mother. "This has to be all or nothing for me," she continued. "I won't settle for less." A flicker of understanding crossed Ryan's face. "I respect that. Give me a moment to think. But if I can't be the man you need, then I understand." His words struck her like an unseen hand, and in that lofty moment where vulnerability met resolution, Sarah recognized the culmination of her journey thus far. She didn't need to be defined by the choices of others. Instead, she could forge her own path. But as she gathered herself and stepped back, a sudden thought crossed her mind and halted her breath. What if Jake sussed out their conversation?
She wouldn't want him to hear improper expectations seated within the conversation's uncertainty. As she turned away to collect herself, a sudden voice echoed from the entrance, bright and innocent. "Mom, don't marry him!" The unmistakable sound of Jake's youthful command sent shockwaves of surprise through her, pulling her back into immediate realities and decisions she hadn't even begun to comprehend. What did this mean for her? Would she have to confront her child's emotions along with her own? Would it take a different kind of bravery to face the implications of such a proclamation? Sarah turned quickly at the sound of Jake's voice, her breath hitching in her throat. A mix of indignation and fear coursed through her, yet there was a piercing clarity. The innocence of his declaration struck sharply. It was a reminder that amidst her tangled emotions, her son was a constant bearer of truth. Jake stood there, a miniature version of her, with earnest eyes and a furrowed brow, his small frame filled with an unexpected weight as he faced Ryan. The diner's ambiance warped, transforming into a thick fog that enveloped not just them, but every choice and consequence that lay ahead. "Jake," she called, forcing a note of calm in her voice. "Where did you hear that?" I heard you two talking." He crossed his arms defiantly, his gaze unwavering. "You looked sad. Are you sad because of him?" For a moment, time suspended itself. Ryan, still processing the tension between them, watched as Sarah's heart collided with her instincts to protect both her son and herself. She felt raw, exposed under the scrutiny of her child, coupled with the weight of Ryan's unresolved questions. Could she really expect him to understand? He was barely 7 years old, innocent to the complexities of adult relationships. "Jake, it's not," she stammered, searching for words that could soften the blow without compromising the truth. "It's not that simple. It's about being sure and safe." "I don't want you to be sad, Mom," he said, his voice almost a whisper now. "You're supposed to be happy. You always say that." His words were daggers that sank deep into his resolve. Yes, happiness was the core of her intentions. It was the foundation she wanted for her son. But how could she reconcile that with her heart heading down a path lined with uncertainty? Did she risk pursuing a relationship at the potential expense of their happiness? "Jake," I knelt to meet her eyes, her voice lower and softer. "It's okay to feel scared. Grown-ups sometimes have to make tough choices, and I want you to know that whatever I decide, it's about what's best for both of us." Ryan remained silent, an observer caught in the eyes of a struggling mother. The distance between them felt insurmountable. He had put his cards on the table, yet here was Sarah, faced with the visceral reality of her son's emotional needs colliding with her own. With newfound clarity, she continued, "It's not just about me and Ryan. It's about the kind of family we want to build. If things don't feel right, they shouldn't happen, right?" Jake nodded slowly, his small brow unfurring, but the concern never left his eyes. "That's true, but I don't want to lose you. Just don't marry him, okay?" The weight of his innocent plea sat heavy on her chest, sparking something inside her. Did she want to reconsider everything just to keep her son safe from disappointment? "Let's take a step back for a moment," she said, straightening up and directing her gaze toward Ryan. "I think we need to talk more plainly about what this all means. I can't pretend my priorities shouldn't come first." Ryan inhaled sharply, understanding dawning across his face. Necessity urged her into a deeper reflection about her role as both a mother and a woman seeking connection and support. "Ryan," she said, her voice firm, "if we're going to move forward, it has to be for the right reasons. Maybe this is a moment for us to reassess what we both truly want." As the words fell into the charged air between them, the realization struck. In the urgency to connect and the desire for stability, she had nearly bypassed the very anchor of her life, Jake's happiness and security. Could she maintain her independence while seeking partnership? It was evident this conversation needed the space to breathe. As she spoke, she began to draw out boundaries not only for herself, but also for Ryan. "Maybe we need to take a break. I don't want to carry expectations beyond what we're ready for." Ryan remained still, his expression inscrutable, yet she could sense his acceptance.
Whatever the outcome tonight, clarity emerged in the fog, illuminating her path forward. As she turned her gaze toward Jake, she understood the truth. They needed to communicate. They needed each other more than she had ever acknowledged. Each moment with him was a reminder that their togetherness was not just a foundation of love, but a commitment to growth and understanding. "I'll always put you first, buddy," she assured her son, and as she spoke, she felt a tickle of determination ignite within her. Ryan may or may not fit into their current family dynamic. What would matter most now was how to navigate these feelings together. The conversation felt only half resolved when Jake piped up again, eyes gleaming with mischief. "But can I at least tell him not to rent crazy movies?" That coaxing laugh danced through the tension, but as Sarah chuckled softly at Jake's innocent complaint, her heart brimmed with suspense. The decisions had only just begun, but what more challenges awaited them from the depths of this transformative moment? The diner's ambiance had shifted back into focus, the laughter of nearby tables playing softly against the backdrop of Sarah's turbulent thoughts.
She felt a wave of adrenaline. The conversation with Jake had cracked open a door to countless possibilities, but now it was time to step through and confront her evolving reality. Steeling herself, she decided to take a proactive step. With Jake momentarily distracted by a nearby game machine, she turned her attention back to Ryan. The urgency in her chest tightened, demanding resolution. How would she articulate her needs and carve a path for herself that they could both understand? "Ryan," she began, her voice a mixture of hesitance and resolve, "I think we need to revisit what we both need from this, for ourselves and for Jake." He looked at her, brow furrowed, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. The playfulness in the space had morphed into a weighty introspection. "Yeah, I agree," he replied, his tone serious. "I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I didn't think about how Jake would factor into everything." The admission surprised her. She could see the genuine remorse in his eyes. They were both walking on unsteady ground, yet this acknowledgement opened a vein of compassion as they treaded through complex emotions together. "Let's be real about it," Sarah said, studying Ryan's features closely. "Jake's perception of our relationship matters tremendously, and we can't ignore that. His happiness counts." As she spoke, Sarah discovered the embrace of her own advocacy, a sense of empowerment knitting her resolve tighter. This was about more than her affection for Ryan. It was about being a mother willing to push for a structure where Jake felt safe. But there was struggle within her. She had to confront not just the budding romance, but her own self-worth, her aspirations as an individual beyond being a mother. "What do you want from this, really?" she pressed. "Think about us and if this connection between us is going to be sustainable. I can't rush into something huge like marriage when I don't even know if we're on the same page." Ryan leaned in, his intensity matching the gravity of their discussion. "I like the idea of you and me, Sarah, but I don't want to overreach. I'm just trying to figure out how to approach this honestly." His authenticity nourished her own honesty. She couldn't overlook the important roles they played in each other's lives. Looking into Ryan's eyes, she saw more than just a romantic interest. She saw potential, possible companionship, yet it was mingled with apprehension. "What if we just explore where this is going, without labels?" Sarah suggested cautiously. "We go step by step. We build something from the ground up, keeping Jake in mind. I can't let my desire for you overshadow what's vital for him." The sincerity of her proposal hung in the air between them, a fragile bridge yet to be built. They shared a quiet moment, contemplating futures woven with hope and the uncertainty of decisions yet to come. "Yeah, I think I can do that." "We can figure this out together," Ryan agreed, a tentative but evident relief washing over him. As they spoke, awareness dawned on Sarah about her own capabilities. She felt unshackled, as if she had finally accessed tools for negotiation, for setting parameters that defended both her and Jake's well-being. Just then, Jake reappeared, bouncing excitedly, interrupting their serious exchange. "Can I go play a few more rounds?" he exclaimed, the thrill in his voice an unexpected balm against the tension. "Of course, buddy," Sarah replied, her voice lighter despite the earlier heaviness, grateful for the reprieve his innocent enthusiasm offered. As Jake dashed away, a smile brimming with zest and life, Sarah's heart swelled. She looked back at Ryan, who wore a thoughtful frown. "He deserves the best version of us. This isn't just about us, is it?" she mused, inadvertently navigating her own psychological landscape, assessing the hope that she could maintain both independence and family. Ryan nodded, and they shared a moment of mutual understanding that echoed promise. Sarah felt renewed purpose emerged as she mentally prepared for the challenges ahead.
But even in that assurance, clouds still loomed on the horizon. Would their commitment withstand the tests of time, the scrutiny of their surrounding world? The tension that had crept back into her thoughts simmered closer to the surface. As they exited the diner, fresh air washed over her, invigorating yet equally daunting. "Sarah," Ryan began, "what if this situation gets more complicated, like involving Jake's opinions or even challenges from our families?" Her breath hitched, the implication of conflict resonating in her mind. Each question brought forth isolated worries creeping back. Was she ready to face not just external judgment, but also the possibility of conflicting opinions where her relationship and motherhood intertwined? As they walked shoulder to shoulder into the future, Sarah felt the undercurrent of uncertainty surge unbidden. They had yet to confront those challenges, but as she stepped boldly into this new reality, she resolved to remain vigilant and prepared. "What if Jake decides he doesn't want me to marry you after all?" she muttered softly, her thoughts digging into the roots of her fears. The evening air was crisp as they emerged from the diner, each step resonating with the gravity of their earlier conversation. As they walked side by side, Sarah's mind spiraled through uncertainties, painting vivid pictures of potential confrontation with both Jake and their families. Every scenario felt like an insurmountable wall rising before her. "Maybe we should talk to Jake soon," Ryan suggested, his voice threading through her turmoil. She turned to him, her heart racing at the prospect of introducing this new dynamic to Jake. The notion of her son's reaction compelled a physical ache in her chest.
"What if he refused to accept Ryan? Do you think he'll be receptive?" Sarah asked, her voice a cautious whisper, masking a torrent of fear. Ryan's expression shifted, revealing his own grappling with the prospect. "Kids can surprise you, especially when they feel their opinions matter. But we should prepare him for it. It's critical he knows he's a part of this conversation." Her internal struggle intensified. She was torn between her desire to forge a new path with Ryan and the instinct to protect Jake's emotional well-being. The joy she felt with Ryan was tinted with uncertainty about the future. "I don't want to spring this on him unexpectedly," Sarah said, wrestling with the awareness that her choices could deeply affect Jake. The thought of risking his happiness anchored her resolve. "He deserves to feel secure, and I'd never want him to feel sidelined." "Exactly," Ryan replied, nodding firmly as the streetlights flickered overhead. "We can approach this with openness, ensure he knows how important he is to us both. We'll figure out how to address his concerns and fears together." Just then, the playful chaos of children's laughter echoed from a nearby park. Sarah's instinct to protect flared again. Her heart sank at the realization that every time she imagined a change, she was stepping into unknown territory. Was she truly prepared to navigate the complexities of their relationship while anchoring Jake's happiness? Steeling her resolve, she realized this wasn't just a conversation with Ryan, but a call to grow into her role as both a partner and a mother. "Okay, let's talk to Jake," she resolved aloud, her tone stronger than she felt. "But I need to be sure that even if he reacts negatively, we commit to working through it." A flicker of admiration crossed Ryan's face. "I believe we can handle it. We owe it to him to be honest. But also, honesty involves our own fears too. It's time we both confront what this means." As they walked further into the night, images of Jake's face flashed in Sarah's mind. Would he see this as a betrayal or an invitation to deeper love? "Do you think our families will understand?" she pondered, feeling the weight of her relatives' potential judgments press down upon her. Her parents had always held traditional views on relationships. She sensed their disapproval lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce at her first misstep. "Honestly, I think we may face resistance." Ryan's voice was steady, his gaze focused ahead. "But this is about us having a chance to build something meaningful. We can't let external pressures dictate our happiness." The tangled emotions within her began to untangle. She felt compelled to embrace a stronger version of herself, not only for Ryan but for Jake. "Right, we can't let them take our power away," she acknowledged, feeling a fledgling confidence bloom inside her. Yet the thought of confrontation with her own family gnawed at her courage.
She questioned whether she'd be able to stand firm amidst criticism. Their conversation shifted toward practical steps, discussing how to introduce the idea of their relationship to Jake gently. The more they spoke, the more fortified Sarah felt, though a shadow still hung over her heart. The dialogue ignited a flicker of hope within her, weeding a palpable tension as the complexities of life, love, and motherhood came to a head. As they approached a quiet stretch of sidewalk, Sarah's impulse quickened. "What if I fail in this? What if I can't manage both being a good mother and a good partner?" Fear echoed along the edges of her thoughts, demanding clarity. "Failure isn't an option, Sarah. You're too strong for that," Ryan reassured her, his hand brushing momentarily against hers, igniting resolve against her self-doubts. Nonetheless, as they prepared to face Jake, she couldn't shake the awareness that they were on the precipice of significant change.
The truth was within reach, yet elusive. With every step, the air thickened with anticipation. What she didn't know was that the real confrontation would come not from Jake or their families, but from well-intentioned friends, whose advice could either fortify her resolve or pull her apart. As they continued to navigate the path ahead, Sarah sensed the inevitable unraveling of her carefully constructed expectations loomed ever closer, forming a new uncertainty that might just alter everything. As the night deepened and shadows stretched longer, Sarah's apprehension morphed into a tangible weight, anchoring her every thought. The conversation with Ryan had unveiled a clearer path towards transparency, yet the looming confrontation with Jake had cast a pall over her enthusiasm. She shifted her focus inward, evaluating how this pivotal moment could redefine her identity as both a mother and a partner. "Okay," she stated abruptly, catching Ryan's eye. "Let's set a time to talk to Jake. The sooner we do it, the less anxiety I'll have hanging over me." Each word felt like a step forward, although her heart fluttered with trepidation. "That sounds like a solid plan," Ryan replied, his expression balancing warmth and concern. "But remember, this isn't just about laying out the facts. We need to navigate his feelings." The recognition of Jake's potential pain pierced Sarah's heart. It wasn't merely that she feared the rejection of her new relationship, it was the haunting thought that she was placing her happiness above her child's emotional security. How could she ever forgive herself if he felt betrayed? The internal conflict swirled around her like a storm. She had fought fiercely for Jake's happiness since day one. Could she afford to possibly compromise it now? As they walked through the quiet suburban streets, illuminated by the soft glow of street lamps, Sarah found herself mentally rehearsing the conversation.
She envisioned Jake's face, his childlike innocence finding space to navigate new dynamics. What if he said something hurtful? What if his small voice formed words that would echo in her mind? "Don't marry him." Would she have the fortitude to uphold her choices, or would those words haunt her? "Do you think we should approach it from a place of teamwork?" Sarah asked, looking for guidance as much as reassurance. "Like, hey buddy, we want to talk with you about something important. We're all in this together." Ryan pondered for a moment. Absolutely. Framing this as a family transition might help him feel involved. It's not just about you and me anymore. It's about creating a new family dynamic. He needs to understand that his voice matters in this too. Sarah nodded, listening to Ryan's calming perspective. Yet the bitterness of guilt lingered. Would Jake appreciate being made a part of a conversation that felt like an ultimatum? Even though she was now committed to uncovering a stronger version of herself, the potential fallout kept gnawing at her conscience. "Do you think I'm making a mistake by pursuing this? What if Ryan and I just don't fit into the picture Jake wants?" she confessed, vulnerability spilling out like a broken dam. "We all fit into different pictures, Sarah. Part of growing is learning to accept that," Ryan said softly, genuine empathy anchoring his voice. "It's okay to be uncertain, but continuing to close yourself off won't benefit anyone. You've shown so much growth already." Yet, every time she rationalized her attraction to Ryan, the brick wall of her fears rose taller. Sarah's mind volleyed between regret and hope, trapped in a labyrinth of what-ifs. How would she navigate the discontent of her parents? The idea of their judgment stung, reminding her of the unwavering views they held on relationships. They spent the evening devising strategies to soften the impending conversation with Jake, incorporating suggestions to ease the emotional strain. Still, just as Sarah began to find some semblance of comfort, doubt crept back in, lurking in the deeper recesses of her thoughts. The following day, as she shuffled into the living room to greet Jake, her heart raced. The moment felt monumental, a quiet gateway to change. His innocent laughter filled the room, juxtaposing the weight of her impending revelation. But rather than drawing strength from the joy he brought, it twisted her resolve tighter. She needed to remain steady. Sitting beside Jake, the words twisted in her throat. "Jake, can we talk about something important?" she finally managed to say, the weight of her decision thick in the air. "What is it, Mom?" he asked, tilting his head with curiosity. Her heart pounded against her ribcage as the reality of her own fears threatened to overtake her. This was it. Doubts flickered. Would Jake's resolve breathe life into her hope, or shatter her new dreams? With a deep breath, she began to share her feelings. Yet, just as she found her footing, the doorbell rang. The unexpected sound punctured the moment, sparking an unsettling unease. As Jake bashed toward the door, Sarah's mind whirled. Who could it be? With added uncertainty layered upon her already precarious emotional state, she recognized that whatever awaited her at the door might ripple through the delicate fabric of her intent.
She steeled herself. Whatever was coming next would be pivotal, an unexpected twist that could tip the scales in any direction. The moment of truth was unraveling faster than she had anticipated, and she had no idea how it would all unfold. As Jake swung open the door, Sarah felt a pang of desperation settle in her stomach. Reality seemed to suspend in the air. The sound of her heartbeat rang in her ears, drowning out the normalcy of the world around her. Just as she braced herself, her eyes caught a glimpse of tall, stern figures framed in the doorway. It was Sarah's parents. "Surprise," her mother declared, a forced cheerfulness in her tone. "We thought we'd come and check on you, and we brought snacks." The tension that filled the room was palpable. Jake, momentarily taken aback, squealed with delight, oblivious to Sarah's inner turmoil. He rushed to greet his grandparents, his energy dispelling both the seriousness of their planned conversation and the intimidating presence of his mother's parents. Sarah's mind raced. This was not how she envisioned this moment. The careful orchestration of her conversation with Jake, the vulnerable feelings she was ready to expose, felt futile now, overshadowed by her parents' surprise visit. She quickly ushered the familiar strain that her parents often imposed into the back recesses of her mind. "Hi, Mom, Dad. What a surprise," Sarah managed, her voice barely concealing her discomfort. She felt trapped between wanting to embrace her parents while simultaneously wanting to shield herself from their perceptions. The fact that she had intended to discuss her personal life with Jake left her exposed, centered on her most intimate fears. "Everything okay?" her father asked, an eyebrow raised with the typical concern leavened by suspicion. Sarah couldn't help but wonder what conclusions they had already drawn from her failure to inform them about her evolving relationship with Ryan. Before she could process her own thoughts, Jake bounded into the living room, holding a plate overflowing with cookies, emblazoned with a messy grin. "Look what Nana brought. Can we have them, Mom?" "Sure, buddy," Sarah responded mechanically, her attention flickering between her son's excitement and the charged atmosphere filling the room. As the adults engaged in small talk, Sarah wrestled with her inner voice, which chastised her for feeling guilty about her own decisions. She had every right to seek happiness, yet here was her opportunity standing on a precipice, as her parents' judgment hovered in the background.
"Ryan said he wanted to meet you both," she threw out lamely, desperate to bridge the chasm of silence that threatened to engulf them. "I think you'd really like him." Her father's face remained impassive, while her mother's smile faded slightly, concern knitting her brow. "If he's such a great guy, why haven't you introduced us before?" her mother probed, folding her arms. The question hung heavy in the air, echoing the doubts that rambled through Sarah's mind. Did she fear their judgment? Or was it that she doubted herself, her new life trajectory? "Mom, I just wanted to wait until I was sure." The instinct to defend her choices began to surface, yet self-doubt clawed at her resolve. She went silent, gathering her strength, hoping that the way she would eventually bridge this familial gap would solidify the stability she sought for Jake. Just then, the doorbell rang again, a jarring sound that sent ice through Sarah's veins. "Why is everyone showing up today?" she thought, dread pooling in her stomach as she turned toward the door once more. Jake's innocent voice once again piped up. "I'll get it." He dashed toward the door, his energy a stark contrast to Sarah's mounting tension. As the door creaked open, Sarah's heart plummeted. She had hoped today wouldn't spiral out of control, but each unexpected visitor was stacking uncertain layers into a structure she feared might collapse under the weight of concealed truths and unspoken fears. Jake's shout of surprise rang through the air, and the world around her receded into silence as she faced the unexpected twist that had just entered her life. She could feel the suffocating pressure building again, every second pushing her closer to the moment where she might finally have to confront everything she had been building towards. Little did she know, the next revelation would challenge not only her conversation with Jake, but the boundaries of her relationships altogether, revealing hidden complexities she had yet to untangle. The door swung open wider, revealing a tall, imposing figure that sent a ripple of unease through Sarah. It was her ex-husband, Ryan. The air turned thick, as time seemed to snap back into reality, and Jake, suspended in joy, froze mid-laugh. "Dad!" Jake squealed, breaking the silence, and rushing towards Ryan. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, every instinct screaming at her to reclaim the moment, to pull Jake aside, to shield him from whatever awkwardness this might bring. Hey, Sarah," Ryan said, his voice casual, but the undercurrent of tension evident in the way his eyes darted nervously between her and her parents. "I thought I'd drop by and see how things are going." Sarah's mind raced. This wasn't how she imagined today would unfold. Instead of presenting Jake with the new dynamics of their family, here stood Ryan, a reminder of a past she wanted to evolve from. The excitement in Jake's voice felt alien in the charged atmosphere, where every glance was a question, every inhale a potential conflict.
"Dad, guess what? Nana brought cookies!" Jake exclaimed, oblivious to the clash of emotions around him. The excitement in his voice was a stark contrast to the anxious nerves that twisted in Sarah's gut. "Cookies, huh?" Ryan smiled, but his gaze lingered on Sarah, assessing her as if they were back in the days of rehearsed conversations. "You keeping up with the sugar intake?" Her parents shifted uneasily, the expression of concern returning to her mother's face. Sarah could feel the spotlight turned on her, and the weight of expectation loomed large. She took a deep breath and focused, determined to navigate the situation with grace, while trying to remain true to her own feelings. "Actually, today's just about us. Sarah began, but the words caught in her throat as she realized that she was about to unravel everything she had carefully woven together over the past few weeks. "Mom, can we have cookies now?" Jake piped up, his innocence a soothing balm against the surrounding tension between adults. "Sure, buddy, go ahead," she forced out, not moving from the spot. Her internal battle intensified, caught between past grievances and a desperate desire to set a new standard for herself and her son. It was no longer just about managing Ryan's expectations. It was about standing her ground, regardless of how tumultuous things felt. Sarah shot a glance at her parents, searching for support, but found only wariness. Time to lay down her cards. "Ryan, I think it's important that we talk about our transition. It's different now." He opened his mouth to respond, but Jake interrupted, still bouncing on his heels. "Can we have ice cream too, Dad?" "No, Jakey, by now. Adults are talking," Sarah said, gently but firmly, both grateful for his distraction and annoyed by its interruption. She realized it was time to stop deferring to everyone else's sentiments and begin asserting her own vision for her life. Her gaze locked onto Ryan's, and for the first time today, she felt a flicker of determination. "I need to figure out what I want. Jake needs to understand that life can be more than just the way things used to be." "Everything okay with you two?" her father asked, concern etched in his features. "Of course," Ryan replied too quickly, attempting to project confidence. But the stone in Sarah's stomach twisted. Did she really believe that? And how could she hope to take control of her present if she let Ryan's presence disturb the crucial conversation she had been preparing? Just then, a realization struck her. "Jake, let's do something new, something exciting tonight. Just you and me. You pick." Jake's face lit up, swiftly turning away from the adults for a moment of pure childhood enthusiasm. His reaction shattered the tension enough that Sarah felt a sense of clarity rushing back.
She was not just a mother trying to appease both parents. She was also a woman redefining her future. "That's great, Sarah," Ryan said, but she could see the tension in his posture. As the adults settled back into a semblance of small talk, Jake's excitement filled the room, but Sarah felt the weight of looming confrontation press upon her shoulders. She could sense that the deeper conversation was lingering, waiting for the right moment, as if catching their breaths before plunging into the depths. If she was going to confront Ryan, she had to navigate this carefully, and this time it would have to be face to face, not just through the veil of small talk. The moment hung thick, with uncertainties just barely hidden beneath the surface, and Sarah knew the truth remained to be uncovered, waiting patiently just beyond her efforts to manage the chaos. Taking stock of her resolve, she inhaled deeply, ready to plunge into the heart of the matter as soon as the noise of familial obligations faded away. The question loomed as she cast her gaze once more over the gesturing adults. How would she instigate the dialogue that would finally expose the truths they all needed to face? The moment stretched as laughter echoed around the room, filling the space with a sense of levity that felt foreign to Sarah. She knew the laughter masked emotions much deeper, emotions that begged to be acknowledged. Swallowing her apprehension, she looked at Jake, whose innocent joy softened her heart, but intensified the pressure she was under. "Jake," she said gently, capturing his attention, "I think we need to have a family meeting. Can you help me with that?" With excitement lighting his eyes, he nodded vigorously. "Sure. Can we have cookies while we talk?" he asked, and a hint of a smile tugged at her lips. Perhaps this wouldn't be as daunting as she thought. Ryan's brow furrowed as she caught her eye, assessing the unfolding interactions. It was time to weave all the threads of her life together. "Yes, let's enjoy some cookies. Then I'd like to discuss some changes we're considering as a family," she announced, her voice steady. "Ryan, why don't you sit with us?" The air shimmered with anticipation as Jake grabbed cookies and settled in. The exchange of warmth between Jake and Ryan, though comfortable, starkly contrasted with Sarah's simmering anxiety. Deep breaths steadied her as she focused on her son. "Jake," she began, her voice calm yet firm, "some exciting changes might be happening in our lives. This is about how we can all grow together." Her heartbeat quickened as she placed her hands on the table, hoping the sincerity radiating from her would find fertile ground in her boy's heart. Jake's brows knitted in concentration, but as she unfolded her words, his eyes widened with curiosity. Sarah explained, drawing Ryan into the fold, allowing him to express his feelings too.
With childlike wonder, Jake listened, absorbing the amalgam of emotions swirling before him. Uncertainty about the future mingled with the joy of cookies and potential new beginnings. The conversation flowed more smoothly than Sarah anticipated, transforming gently from a discussion about change into a safe space for Jake's feelings. "Mom, are you going to marry Ryan?" he blurted out. Her heart raced again, but she steadied herself. "That's not decided yet, buddy. It's about making sure everyone feels good about our family." She noticed the weight of her parents' gaze. They leaned in, captivated yet apprehensive. This moment was about her son. She turned to him, wrapping her words in gentleness. "You always have a say, Jake. What do you think?" Jake hesitated, but then spoke bravely. "I just want everyone to be happy, but I want to make sure you're happy, Mom, too." The room filled with a shared understanding and a newfound warmth. "That's very important to me, too," she assured him, her voice quavering with emotion. "Your happiness defines our home, Jake." As their gazes locked, she felt the layers of fear begin to loosen. It was a turning point. Here was the foundation of a family defining itself anew, instead of merely reacting to the whims of others. Ryan saw the shift and interjected, "I care about both of you. I'd never want to push you into something you're not ready for. I'm here for both of you." "That's what we need, Ryan," Sarah affirmed, her voice ringing with clarity. "Building a relationship takes time and faith, together as a family." And there it was, the shift she had long sought, transforming from fear and uncertainty into collaborative understanding. The adults nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. Her parents softened, a glimmer of pride flickering in her mother's eyes. "Perhaps we can all grow through this," her father said, a hint of newfound acceptance weaving through his tone. The liberation within Sarah grew in breadth. This was no longer just about asserting choices. It was about celebrating each individual's emotional landscape, Jake's innocence, her aspirations, and Ryan's willingness to open up. As the conversation trickled into laughter and stories, the earlier tension dissolved. She could see the spirit of her family, hers and the new one she was co-creating with Ryan, taking form. Before the sun set, suddenly Sarah felt a profound clarity wash over her. She had confidently steered her life in a direction that cherished her son, while also making space for herself and Ryan. This was not simply about love. It was about nurturing an environment that could hold growth, firmness, and compassion. In dialogue, she realized she had achieved a major milestone, a balance between personal autonomy and familial connection. No longer passive, she was grounded in her decisions, radiating a strength she had cultivated through love and necessity. Jake, feeling the lightness of their conversation, reached for her hand. He grinned, mouth full of cookies. "I want ice cream next time, Mom." And just like that, Sarah chuckled out loud, feeling this sweet sense of fulfillment wrap her heart. Each tiny sacrifice she had steered through was leading her somewhere beautiful. She was conquering her fears, embracing joy in her evolution. As they dove into a pile of cookies and laughter, she found herself leaning into this life, one reshaped by the trials and triumphs of daring to communicate. The glow of love, family, and newfound purpose surrounded them, each bite of cookies a reminder, every laugh a promise etched into the fabric of their lives. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but after this moment, Sarah felt a solid confidence rising within her. She was ready to embrace and cultivate happiness, and Jake would always remain at the heart of her journey. Never had she felt more assured of her capabilities, nor more connected with her son and Ryan. This newly forged path shimmered ahead, and she was hungry to explore every twist and turn it may unveil in the future. You need to subscribe now to witness how these amazing stories unfold and see what awaits next. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for transformative journeys like Sarah's. Comment your thoughts and reactions about this powerful conclusion below. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring resolution.